Welcome guys to a fresh video. Today we will present the Demon Hunter in a different light, because some of you asked me to do a new player guide for the Demon Hunter. I will try to include both specs and I will try to make it as simple as possible and also include the rotation. So let's go. Demon Hunters are a hero class. They wear leather armor, which means the physical damage they receive is not that low. Well, more than cloth. You know, those priests, mages and warlocks. The Demon Hunter can be a tank or a melee DPS. The only races you can play Demon Hunter is Night Elf or Blood Elf. I personally prefer Blood Elf because for the Horde and because of our racial arcane torrent. I do not think you can exploit Shadow Meld to the max, but that's just my opinion and I'm biased. The Demon Hunter has two specs, Vengeance or Havoc. Vengeance is for tanking, Havoc is for DPS. If you want a more comprehensive guide about the Demon Hunter, I will put the Vengeance and the Havoc guides on the top right corner right there. And also, I'll be putting timelines for each subject. Let's start with the Vengeance Demon Hunter. The Vengeance Demon Hunter is a great tank for Mythic Plus because you can control huge crowds of mobs. You can help your group self-heal, provide a lot of utility and a lot of DPS. The best covenant in Shadowlands for Vengeance Demon Hunter is Kyrian and Mechanicos Soulbind. Again, for more comprehensive guides about the soul binds and everything, check the other guides. Your main covenant abilities are Summon Steward, which gives you 3 health potions called Phial of Serenity, and another ability called Elysian Decree, which places a Kyrian sigil at the target location and it activates after 1 second. Deals damage AoE and gives you soul fragments. Soul fragments heal you if you absorb them. One way to absorb them is to walk towards the soul fragments or use the ability Soul Cleave to get the fragments to you. You can consume up to 2 fragments with Soul Cleave. Your main stat is obviously agility. Other stats I want to prioritize are haste, versatility, mastery and crit. The legendaries I go with is Razelik's Defilement and obviously Blind Fate, which is the second legendary as per 9.2. There are 2 main specs for Vengeance. Fiery Brand build, which revolves around spreading Fiery Brand, which is an ability that reduces damage on you by 40% for 10 seconds, spread among the mobs. And you play a lot with Soul Cleave, so it goes hand in hand with Razelik's Defilement, which decreases the cooldown of Elysian Decree because you're playing Kyrian. So you see the synergy in there. Or there's another build for more DPS rather than survivability, Spirit Bomb build, which looks something like this. For the sigils, it's more of a personal preference. Sigil of Chains is for you to gather mobs in a location, and it's preferable if you think there's gonna be a dangerous pack and you want to extra control them. Quicken Sigil is for faster triggering of the sigils. This is what I prefer. And Concentrated Sigils if you want the sigils to be at your location. Usually, this is the last priority. As your main strike, you will have Fracture, not Shear. Always spec into Fracture. We never use Shear. The default strike for Vengeance Demon Hunters, because it shatters souls, which we can use to heal, not just basic pain generation. Let's start with the rotation for the fiery build. So we're gonna go Immolation Aura. I usually start with Fiery Brand afterwards if the pack is dangerous. If not, I'm gonna go Elysian Decree because I pull a big pack. Fracture until I have enough fury to use Spell Devastation. Use it always on cooldown. So you have Immolation Aura, Fracture, Fell Devastation, Soul Cleave until you no longer have any more fury, then you go Fracture again. Use Demon Spikes carefully when you have problems. Do not use both stacks. Use one stack, wait for it to be over and then use the second stack. This is successful active mitigation. Demon Spikes only help you with physical damage. For the magic damage, you're gonna have to use absorbs like trinkets, or you could use Spell Devastation to heal yourself and trigger a Metamorphosis, or use Metamorphosis off cooldown if you feel like it. This is our best ability on Havoc and Vengeance. On Vengeance, you have extra defensives. On Havoc, you have extra damage. You can use Files if you feel like you're in danger, and obviously use Sigil of Silence when you need to interrupt targets. Use Sigil of Flame when you're pulling the pack, I would say, and the Sigil of Misery if you want to keep a pack away and feared for a long time. If you want to CC a mob you want to skip, use Imprison. So basically we have Fracture, if Spell Devastation is all cooldown, use it. If not, Soul Cleave, Firebrand if it's off cooldown, Throw Glaive every time you have it available because it generates extra threat. So you're building fury with Fracture, you consume it with Soul Cleave, that's the basis of it. Now for the Spirit Bomb rotation, you might want to start with Infernal Strike because you'll trigger a Sigil of Flame because of the talent Abyssal Strike. So you could actually go Infernal Strike, and Sigil of Flame to have 2 triggers of it. Immolation Aura if you have it on cooldown, Double Fracture, and after that use Spirit Bomb to consume all your souls. If you do not have 4 souls, wait, build more souls with fractures and then use Spirit Bomb. If you have souls left, consume them with Soul Cleave. Don't forget, we also have an ability Consume Magic with which we can dispel certain buffs of the enemies and we get 20 Fury for it. As key bindings, I use a Razor Naga. All my buttons from 1 to 9 are numpads. So, I have Fracture on 1 because it's the spammable ability. 2 is Soul Cleave, so I can have it in hand if I want to consume my Fury. Spirit Bomb is on 4 because just that's how I'm used to it. On num 5 because it's right here where my thumb is the Demon Spikes. Numpad 6 is Fiery Brand. Middle click is Infernal Strike. I always like to put my charges and everything on that. Numlock 3 is Immolation Aura. Numlock 1 is the Trinket. Numlock 8, which is still here in the middle, is Fell Devastation. Sigil of Misery is Numpad 4. Sigil of Flames is Shift Q, but I don't use it that often. X is for Metamorphosis and Z is for the Taunt. Torment. Keep in mind we do not have AoE taunts, so Immolation Aura, Throglaive, these are very helpful for your threat generation. And Elysian Decree, obviously. For PvP, Vengeance Demon Hunters are not that efficient anymore. We can be flag carriers because we have the Demonic Trample talent, but that's not that useful anymore. You could use Vengeance with the Night Fae Covenant for more mobility with the Soul Shape ability, but generally we don't see that many Vengeance Demon Hunters anymore. I never tried Vengeance Necrolord as a flag carrier, but tanks in PvP are not that great anymore, unless you're Blood Decay or a Prot Paladin. Moving on to the Havoc Demon Hunter. The big strength of the Havoc Demon Hunter is its damage output, mobility, and gap closing. The weakness is that we're not providing a lot of CCs, we only have 2 CCs and one we have to spec into, that is Spell Eruption. Otherwise we only have Chaos Nova and Imprison, but we also have to choose a PvP talent for Imprison to not be removed once we damage a target. And we only have Medallion to get out of CCs, which is pretty bad. Not a lot of survivability unless we use Netherwalk. In addition to that, we only have Blur as a base ability, which is pretty useful, and Darkness. I will give my PvP opinion on Havoc because I did not play PvE almost at all with the Havoc Demon Hunter. I like to play a tank, but probably the rotations are almost the same. The best covenant overall for PvP for Demon Hunter is Necrolord. Provides a lot of survivability and provides a little bit of damage as well. A lot of survivability means we won't get one-shotted by rogues. The second best is Night Fae. Night Fae provides huge damage burst, but there's no survivability and we have to kite a lot with Soul Shape. And we really have to make use of the Hunt, which is a huge damage ability, but if you miss it, your rotation is basically over. And most people know how to absorb the Hunt now. So with the Necrolord we have Fleshcraft, which provides us a huge shield, which gives us more time, especially when a rogue opens us. I know I say rogue a lot because it's a big counter for us, okay? And we have Fodder to the Flame, which gives us a damage increase if we absorb the demon soul, and when we kill it we have 40% heal. And in addition to that, because we have the second legendary, which is the Covenant legendary as of 9.2, we get the legendary effect of Demonic Oath. Fodder to the Flame's demon explodes and it inflicts Fiery Brand, which is that vengeance ability, of course, which reduces damage on us. It applies it on every target the demon damages when you kill it. The second legendary I like to play with is Collective Anguish because it provides me even more survivability and gives me some additional damage. I like to play with I-Beam a lot. Another great legendary for this is Burning Wound, and yes, I am still grinding for that and I will make a video about it. As of the spec, I tried Blind Fury, I tried playing without Demon Blades. Yes, you have an ability you can spam Demon's Bite, but Fury generation is bad and the damage is really low. Bless me. So Fellbait Demon Blades should be like a default for Demon Hunters in Shadowlands. For a third row, Unbound Cast all the time. Immolation Hour activation gives your Fell Rush 500% damage when you cross a target like that. Amazing talent. For the fourth is always Soul Rending. These are all defensive spells. For more comprehensive details about Havoc PvP, you'll have the video up here again. Soul Rending is what we need because we need our leech to be increased, because we need some self-heal because our survivability usually sucks. But we could use Netherwalk against bursting comps, versus which we need to resist a huge burst. For example, you are stunned by a rogue and a fire mage also hits you, or an aim shot plus rapid fire. You won't survive it if you don't use Netherwalk or if you don't have your Fodder to the Flame up. And there's Desperate Instincts, which takes advantage of Blur. In addition, you automatically trigger Blur with 50% reduced cooldown and duration when you fall behind 35% health. That's if you like burst the double DPS comp and you don't really pay attention to the cooldowns or your health. First blood should be bases because we always use Blade Dance on cooldown. Then we have Master of the Glaive, which I play with when I have to chase targets which have a lot of mobility and they don't really provide a lot of danger when they're not CC'd. For example, I say Wrestle Druids. I usually play it against mages as well because if I can stun a mage, but if I'm rooted, what's that stun good for if I'm 1v1ing him? Or you can go Fel Eruption for additional CC, which is also amazing. If you pick Fel Eruption, the best rotation is to start with Fel Blade, Fel Eruption, and then Eye Beam, because you can get the full perk of Eye Beam with Collective Anguish as well if the target doesn't move. And they won't move if you use Fel Eruption. And they probably won't trinket it if you open with, because then you can use Chaos Nova and you can stun them. And for the last, all is playing Demonic because Eye Beam triggers your Metamorphosis on Havoc. It's not like Fel Devastation on Vengeance, which automatically does that. I think they should make this base as well, but hey. For PvP talents, Chaotic Imprint and Mortal Dance are usually indispensable, and for the other one you can go with Isolated Prey if you want to kill a target with a healer. Rain from Above if you need to get away from melees. Glimpse for extra defensives, Detainment for another CC when you can use Imprison, and if that target is damaged, they won't remove the CC. It's like Cyclone. And sometimes I use Reverse Magic because you can remove things like Hammer of Justice for another player, or you can remove your roots, for example Frost Nova. The rotation itself, I like to start with Throw Glaive because I can put a Chaotic Imprint, Immolation Hour on cooldown, one Fel Blade Eye Beam, or Fel Eruption Eye Beam. And with Eye Beam, after that, you want to make sure you don't have your Blade Dance before you use Eye Beam, because Chaos Strike and Blade Dance turn into new abilities when you are changing to your demon form, the Metamorphosis. These change into Deathly Sweep and Annihilation. Deathly Sweep strikes your primary target for more damage, as also the other 5 nearby targets. You start with Blade Dance because you have the Mortal Dance talent, which reduces the target healing received by 25% for 5 seconds. And it provides a lot of damage with First Blood and Dancing with Fate Conduit. So you go Throw Glaive, Immolation Aura, Fel Blade, Eye Beam, Deathly Sweep, the Metamorphosis, Blade Dance, and then you spam Chaos Strike until you no longer have Fury. And then you'll generate again with Fel Blade. You saw that I wasn't talking about Fel Rush. Well, Fel Rush should be used when you're close to a target and you have the Unbound Chaos trigger on it, so they receive 500% more damage. Otherwise, use it as a gap closer. To generate Fury, we also have Consume Magic, which does the exact same thing as Vengeance. It dispels a buff of the enemy and grants you 20 Fury. Chaos Nova, if you want to kill a target and you don't care about stunning as many as possible, and you're picking the talent Isolated Prey, you should use it on one target. Apart from that, Chaos Nova is best used when there are a lot of targets around you, so you can stun all of them from maximum efficiency. For PvP, I usually use the Usable Trinket, which increases my primary stats by 277. So I have Immolation Aura, Fel Blade, Trinket, Eye Beam, or Fel Eruption Eye Beam, which maxes my damage. Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, Chaos Strike. Fel Rush, if you still have it up, the target didn't run, and you have the Unbound Chaos. I would say Fel Rush is the last ability. Let's recap. Immolation Aura, Throw Glaive. Throw Glaive is optional. It's only for Chaotic Imprint, or if you want to kill your demon with Father to the Flame. The Throw Glaive should instantly kill your demon. I heard that for some people there's a bug. I don't know what's that about. Fel Blade, Eye Beam, Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, Fel Rush. As a conduit, I usually use Emany for more damage or Plague Divisor for more sustained. I never use Bonesmith because it gives you that survivability at the end, which before you die you have a timer when you can actually damage them still, when you can damage the enemies until you permanently die. I don't find it that useful in Arena, that's probably more for BGs. It's similar to the Priest's Angel. When they die, they're not really dead, they can still heal, but then they die completely. Like they turn into a spirit and then they die. If you want to play Night Fae for bursts, or you're playing 3v3, or you're playing DPS, or you have a great healer with you, probably a booster, I would say you should open with the Hunt. But many people will have their Absorbs on, so keep the same rotation: Immolation Aura, Fel Blade, Fel Eruption, Eye Beam, and then the Hunt. And then Fel Rush with the Unbound Chaos. Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, and then Fel Rush. That can provide good damage. If someone who plays the Hunt at a higher rating knows the rotation better, do leave it down in the comments. As for defensives, you can use Vengeful Retreat, and then even Fel Rush to run behind a pillar or something. Use Blur when you feel like you're gonna get bursted down. Darkness to help you or allies, and even Rain from Above if you want to jump into the air and be out of reach. But Rain from Above works only against melee. If you want full defensive, Spec into Netherwalk. You won't be targetable, you won't be able to cast spells, but your healer can't heal you if you're playing with one. So just remember, it's always Blade Dance before Chaos Strike. You can go Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, Chaos Strike, Fellblade, Chaos Strike, Chaos Strike, Fellblade, Blade Dance, and all that. More Fury will be generated by your auto attacks through Demon Blades. So I know most of you cannot get used to not having a button like Demon's Bite, but if you get closer and you right click for auto attacks, you will have the chance to build Fury and you're gonna deal additional shadow damage. The damage output difference is huge, so use Demon Blades. Right click, get closer to the target. 60% chance is a lot. As for Keybinds, Fellblade is on my 1 button because of course I use it all the time. My 2 button is always my main strike, which is Chaos Strike in this situation. Blade Dance is on 3. Chaos Nova is on 4. These are the mostly used abilities. On numpad 7 I usually have the Covenant ability like Elysian Decree, Fleshcraft, or the Hunt. On numpad 5 I usually have a defensive like Soul Shape or Netherwalk because, you know, Father to the Flame is passive. On C I have Throwglaive. Middle click as usual, Fell Rush. I told you I have my charges on it. Numpad 2 is Fell Eruption, numpad 3 is I-Beam, numpad 8 is Imprison because I don't use it as often as I should. F is Rain from Above, or any other ability I'm replacing it with. Z is Blur because that's always my defensive. Metamorphosis will always be on X. And now on numpad 4 I have Immolation Aura. It just makes more sense as Havoc. Shift W is my trinket because I'm just walking forward and boom, triggering it. Shift Q is Darkness. Numpad 1 is Medallion. I always put numpad 1 Medallion or any defensive trinket. R is Arcane Torrent, and Q, because it's so close to the WASD, is Spectral Sight. Not that useful these days because people can interrupt your Spectral Sight and you won't see stilted people. It's usually the best to use Spectral Sight, 1 or even 2 Fell Rushes if you want to play aggressive, and just use Throwglaive on a target. And don't forget to press your Spectral Sight ability again because there's a bug that doesn't cancel it if you get damaged. You won't see the targets, but the ability itself won't get cancelled. I don't know if they fixed it. Okay, so I hope this has been a helpful guide. I hope you will choose the right spec for you, the one that feels best for you. I hope if your Warcraft journey starts with Demon Hunter as a main or alt, this will help you easily grasp this class. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. And if you want to see more, click the subscribe button and the bell. And I will see you in the next informative videos. Peace!